on Tulane at the Alamo Dome on a Thursday night. Big game for UTSA. Um, yeah, lots to talk about, a lot of storylines, a whole bunch of stuff happening in the media. Did y'all see Coach Summerall? That's the coach for Tulane. Did you see his comments about the Alamo Dome and the noise? I'm definitely going to get into that. I'm also going to get into some of the things I talked about in my article, right? Like where, or how does UTSA look at this last stretch of games and where they are? Even some of the comments from Coach Traylor is something I want to talk about. And yeah, we're going to get into all of that here in a second. Let me let people know we are live. I was very busy before this. Negotiating fantasy football trades. Not in my league, by the way, because I lost Malik Neighbors and Tyreek Hill on the same week. So you could imagine how my league is going. But 1 second here. We are live talking UTSA football. All right. There we go. Tweets out. If you guys are on Twitter, make sure you shoot me a retweet there. Anyway, all right. Now, back to all the stuff. Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about in general is like what are we looking at this game, right? Tulane's coming in, riding a really hot streak with some very good wins. And you know, they fully expect to win this game, and they probably should, to be fair. Like they have beat some good teams along the way. I think, you know, the game against East Carolina was not bad. You know, they just came off a win against Army. Yeah, they just had some really good, solid, consistent outings all year. I think one of the biggest things that we'll see and what UTSA will be up against, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is guys, they do everything well. They're really, really balanced. I know I've said this about a couple of UTSA team or opponents, but this is just what they offer to the table. They got to do something about that quarterback. The quarterback that transferred from BYU that was surrounded in all that controversy and mess. He's worked out for him. I mean, he has them rolling pretty well at 6-1. He can really, really hurt folks with their legs, with his legs. He's the leading rusher for that team, but they also have some really good running backs as well. They have some solid receivers that can get busy after the catch. They can catch the ball downfield. So our secondary will be under stress. Our front seven is going to have to show up because they're really good up front. Also, on the defensive side of the ball, they're just physical, tough. They play Tulane style football, and you know, Tulane has it sort of recently. So UTSA has their work cut out for them. Obviously, you know, I think some of the folks asked me coming into this week, you know, like, does UTSA have a shot? What chance do you give them in general? And my response to that more generally was UTSA is a different team at home. That's just the fact. That's just the facts. That's exactly what they have been for years at this point. But recently, away is where the problems come up. If you look at the video I posted to Coach Traylor online, going through his frustrations about the team and about where they are as a group right now, he talked about, he rattled off, you know, JJ said, my quarterback ain't playing well, we ain't coaching well, we getting all the penalties, and Greg pointing nose out and all those types of things. I think it just has to get buttoned up, or it's going to be a nightmare end of the season for UTSA. This team is not going to. They are not going to not capitalize on some of these mistakes, similar to how North Texas capitalized on all the mistakes that UTSA eventually made. So the one thing that's weird, though, what I'll say is, and it kind of shows you the mindset of John Summerall from you know, the head coach from Tulane. Him being worried so much about the noise inside the Alamo Dome kind of like tells you that he's a little worried about this game. I think that's interesting. One of the things I was on Joe and Mike's show earlier this week, and they asked me about like Tulane and things like that. And one of the things that you kind of look at them is they hadn't scored a ton of points as of late, right? Like in 24 in the American Conference is kind of low, considering what some of the other teams are or have been putting up. More recently, you look at the North Texas, they're scoring points all over the place. But 24 against Army, 26 against East Carolina, 31 against Tulsa's fine. They had 10 points against Ole Miss, which they were sort of overmatched in that game, but they hadn't scored 40 points all season. And I know 40 points is a lot, but like when you think about the American and when you look at teams like South Florida who's dropping 63 and you looking at North Texas who's dropping 55 on our heads, when you look at those types of teams, like those are your more dynamic offenses that is a little bit more consistent with what the top of the conference is doing right now. And Tulane's not necessarily doing that. You even look at a team like, Navy, they put up 42 in their most recent game, right? They put up 52 to start the year against a lower level team, but they've been in the 40s a couple times and they've scored a lot of points. So Tulane is not a team that is scoring a lot of points like that, and they've had to rely on a good physical defense. So with UTSA being at home, and I know this is probably a far cry, but you know what? As much as I don't care for the offensive play caller, like we have found a way to score points in some games this season. So I actually think like, their coach thinking about like what he's up against and thinking about the Alamo Dome and the fortress that it's been for UTSA, he's probably a little rattled there. Like, hey, we in order for their offense to fire on all cylinders, they probably need everything to go perfect for them. And if they are, being affected by crowd noise, which how much crowd noise is it going to be on a Thursday night with San Antonio playing at the same exact time? But I don't know. We'll have to see what's going on with that. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I will say for UTSA, I mean, yeah, I'm looking even at UTSA. We scored, 61 points against Rice. I know it was Rice, but we've been able to put up some points. So if UTSA can find a path to like getting points on the board, I mean, we can find our way into this game. I'll start with some questions here before I get into some of the other topics. Mike says the effort will be there. Tulane is a team that has problems in the red zone and with penalties. I think second half adjustments will win or lose it for us. Close game. I hope not, because we don't do well with second half adjustments. So I hope that's not what's going to decide the game, because if it is, which a lot of the games that we've played this year has been about second half adjustments, we're in trouble. That's just the truth. We'd be in trouble. UTSA does not do well with second half adjustments, and that's been a consistent theme all year. Coach Traylor acknowledged that in his presser multiple times, and that wouldn't be good. And just to like think about Coach Traylor's presser, right? He understands that, like, I think he's finally gotten the message from all of us as supporters on like, you can't really pull the wool over our eyes anymore about what's happening out there. I came on here multiple times talking about, like, it kind of sucks sometimes when Traylor answers these questions in the media, and he basically tells us, oh, well, these guys really played well, or they did this well, or they did that well, but the results aren't showing that. And I've talked about being frustrated at even watching the press conferences, because I'm like, hey, it feels like you're challenging the person at home's, I don't know, knowledge of the game, or not being able to point out, hey, we're not doing well in this particular area. And I was just listening to his demeanor over, this week and from the bye week. And I think it is probably set into him that everybody understands the position that we are in, and it's not good. You can't dress it up anymore. The record is what it is. The odds are stacked against UTSA. When you look at the next 5 games, you got Tulane, which is going to be a tough one. USF is just not going to be a great night for us. I can just tell you that right now. Um, East Carolina, winnable but tough. Army, winnable but tough. Charlotte is probably a win. When you go down the list of all those games, it's going to be hard to pick out 3 of those that UTSA is going to go in and win. So he knows every single game is going to matter. And when you take that into consideration, we got to also understand that if we look at the schedule and we feel that way, he's probably looking at the schedule because he's watching tape on these people a lot closer than we are, and he knows what we're up against as well. Like, he has a better picture than we could ever have on what the strengths and the weaknesses are in the team as it relates to the upcoming opponents that we're about to face. So, I mean, he always sort of has a subdued attitude a lot of the times in some of these press conferences. So you can't like read into all of them unless he's coming off of a win. But I felt more than in weeks past that this situation is weighing in on him, and I hope that lights a fire under him, the coaching staff, and the players to come out there and shock the world tomorrow. I mean, because that's what it will be, right? They beat Tulane tomorrow. Well, I don't know if it'll be a shock the world. Like I said, UTSA has been really good at home, but there's just a lot surrounding the team that isn't the most positive. And I don't know what we're going to do about it, honestly. Mike says lots of distractions for Tulane this week regarding Summerall and LSU. UTSA, I think, can pull the upset at home. I mean, listen, yeah, it's a lot of distractions, but like I think I tweeted this earlier today. It's the same situation UTSA was in a couple weeks ago, or I said a couple years ago with Traylor. After we won the conference championships, him interviewing with, people like, A&M and U of H. I mean, it's the same thing. It won't stop anything. He's going to be fine. His teams are going to play for him or play hard for him. And it's another situation where that's probably a dream job, right? I don't think people within that organization is going to take that too hard. If he left them for LSU, I mean, they're in New Orleans. Baton Rouge is a couple hours away. I think they'd be happy. That's the pinnacle in that state of football, and I think they'd be happy to see him do it. So I don't think it's going to be a lot of distractions for the team, but you almost worry if it's going to be a distraction for him and the way he's handled it and how frazzled he looks, and him talking about he thinks that UTSA's crowd noise is illegal because we're pumping noise. Like, it's a silly thing to be pointing out, to be completely honest. Cody says, I shouldn't be so apathetic toward the program for this game, but I am. ESPN, great opponent, ESPN on campus. Stars have aligned, yet UTSA's poor season has made the excitement less than stellar. I mean, how can you be excited based on what the product that they've put out there? It's just the truth. You know what's funny? And this is in no way to like throw. This is not a thing to throw shade at all. It's just a reality. I have gotten a lot more interview requests over the last few weeks, or really this week. Really started a lot this week. I haven't said yes to all of them. I've said yes to a couple. Still trying to get logistics set up. But people are wanting to bring me on the show because they want to talk about the turmoil at UTSA now. Like that part, it just gets interesting whenever your team goes south that way. And I hadn't had like situations where people, not in a while anyway, it's like, oh, I want to bring you on the show to talk about how bad UTSA has been and what they need to do to right the ship. But that's just the reality of what's happening. And to me, it just shows like that's what the outside world looking in. Like, I'll look at I have a very clear indicator on my show on like when UTSA is doing good or doing bad. When they're coming off a win, they're coming off a loss. If they're coming off a loss, people are going to watch this show very differently than they do. If they're coming off a win, so if they're coming off a loss, it's not going to be a ton of people in the chat live. People will watch it on the rewind or whatever, or not the rewind, but they'll watch it when they get time. You can see it in data by less comments. You can see it all that type of stuff. But the outside noise is more active. And then whenever we win, of course, everybody wants to be here live and participate and blow up the chat. But the outside folks don't want to talk to us when we're doing well. So it's an interesting sort of dynamic. But yeah, I mean, back to your question, Cody, it's hard to be happy and excited about what's to come because UTSA hasn't been playing well, and it's hard to put some trust in the coordinators and what they have turned out. Some of the folks were asking me, or not even asking me, it's just a thought that I've been having just in general about like how does UTSA solve the issue that they have right now? And I took a bit of a swing at it in my article this week, and there's a question about the portal, and some people are like, oh my God, everybody's going to hit the portal now. Like the portal is going to be crazy. Do you think I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I don't always associate the portal with negativity in that way. And yeah, like we aren't in the days anymore where all of our best players are hitting the portal and they're going to bigger schools. I mean, listen, that could very well happen again, but like I am more okay with people hitting the portal because I don't think I think we have misprofiled some players, and I don't think some of the players are good enough. So you actually do want to, I mean, that's just how the game is now. Filter them out, bring new guys in, and get in new players. I think, like I said this in the article, and I'll say this here also. I'm not going to these young men are still in college and things like that, and I love the program, so I'm not going to like go in that way. So I'm not going to name their names, but there are some players on both sides of the ball that UTSA misprofiled from a recruiting standpoint, and that's where I'm worried because I've made a lot of like people have been coming in here year after year talking about like Traylor is doing all this for Frank Wilson's recruit. Frank Wilson was the recruit. He set the foundation, blah, blah, blah. But we haven't seen we haven't seen a high level of success with more of Traylor recruits. And I've resented that because I'm like, I don't know if that's fair. Like, that's a tough thing to look at. But what I will say is right now I'm looking at some players that like you can tell what they think of a player based on the way they try to get that player the ball or the position they are trying to get this player in to make said play. And like, so like you can almost see what they think of somebody. And if you try to keep putting these people in this position to execute this particular job and they can't do it, we misprofile that person. We're asking some of these people to do things that the coaches may have thought was their strength, but it's really not. Or maybe it is their strength, but it's just not good enough to be successful, to go and win you football games. I've seen that more this year than I've ever seen it at UTSA. Or under Traylor, obviously. And I know it's more obvious because this is the worst season, thus far since he's been here. Or at least it appears that it's going to be. But yeah, I just think like when you hear the portal and people are saying, oh, like these people are going to go to the portal. Yeah, I don't associate that with a bad thing. We probably need some turnover, some guys, some outgoings and some incomings. Now, I think the thing with the incomings is how much money are we going to be able to go make a splash? Probably how much money do we have to go and make a splash? I don't know if we have much of that, but like, yeah, there needs to be some turnover in my opinion. Can we get a game prediction? I think UTSA puts up a fight but loses 35-14. Jesus. I will give you one at the end. I'll remember to come back to this. I'll get you one at the end. Coach Summerall is going to make our offense look like they're playing Pee Wee football. His defenses at Tulane and Troy have been tough. Yeah, I know. It's one of the things that I looked at and I said we're going to struggle on offense, 100%. And it's unfortunate, but I don't. What happens anytime we play a good defense, y'all? Our offense is muted. Listen, one thing we can probably hang our hat on is that at some point, Robert Henry or Will Henderson are going to take 160 yards or something like that. Like, we are good enough to produce that game in and game out. Those guys are that good, and our offensive line from a run blocking standpoint do a really good job. So that's something we can almost expect that our running backs, if given the opportunity, will produce. But from a passing standpoint, really trying to open up, like what's gonna like I tell you this, the first thing that if I was like coaching against UTSA's offense, I just get pressure on the quarterback and dare y'all to beat us 1-on-1, man. I'd start the game that way. Just send the message. Y'all gonna have to do this all day. Y'all gonna have to do this all day. And trust me, those coordinators know they're going to ease into it. They're going to play some of their base stuff, but they're going to know in the high leverage downs what to do. They're going to know. I mean, it's very obvious what we struggle against, especially in the air, and it's also very obvious that like we get behind the sticks a lot, and on third down, send some pressure, you get the ball right back, no problem. So, yeah, our offense will probably struggle, but I think our defense can have some opportunities to play well too. Our defense, to me, the North Texas game notwithstanding, they just had an awful night. I expect them to respond and be a lot more physical. I think they actually they've shown progression throughout the season, where our offense has kind of shown regression into this season. Notwithstanding I mean, they both sides of the balls have had sort of outliers, with the offense having a great day against Rice and the defense having a nightmare, against North Texas. But yeah, Troy's going to make it tough. Or I said Troy, I'm sorry. Tulane's going to make it tough on us. Will Henderson says, man, coaches are dropping like flies. Did UTSA lose a coach or something today? Coaches are dropping like flies. Let me see. I'm going to have to come back to that one. We need Coach Traylor to bring the juice. He seemed down in this week's press conference. Our record is what it is. We need to finish strong. Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? He's down because he's recognizing what's going on. Like he's recognizing where his team is, what the expectations were. Like, some of the folks on Twitter have been telling me, hey, like, and I've talked about this as well. He came into the season and he set an expectation on, hey, last year was not good enough. We are going to do X, Y, and Z this year. Our offense is going to be good, and we're going to give our defense time to catch up. And it appeared to be the case in the very, very beginning, but now the inverse has happened, where our defense is, I wouldn't dare say they're good, but they have had some positive outings. They've had a lot more positive outings this season than the offense. And not only was he now proven to be wrong from that perspective, but now we're probably not going to a bowl game this season. So yeah, he's listen, he's in that locker room and he's leading these people out. So he has to like inject some life into the support, the fan base himself. He can do some of that. And you just hope that he's not carrying that attitude to the locker room as he tries to get his guys ready to play. But yeah, the record is what it is. We do need to finish strong. But like I said, man, these coaches know their strengths and weaknesses and how they're going to fare up against an upcoming opponent a lot more than we do. Trust me, I've talked to a ton of coaches, and they know when they're going to lose. They know when they don't have a chance. I remember talking to a coach at this time he was at a Power 4 conference, He's not anymore, but he was at a Power 4 conference at the time. And I remember him just talking to him on the phone. This was 2 summers ago. He was talking about his 2 years there, and he was like, well, the first year I knew we were going to be all right. But the second year, he was like, yeah, me and the entire defensive staff at that time knew that they were going to give up a ton of points and that we weren't going to be very good. And I remember he was telling me that they were hoping to win 4 games that year, and I think they won less than that, or maybe that or less. And I think they all got fired. But like, it's just that's just the life of it. You kind of know where you are. Now you got to go and coach, and they have a job to do and things like that. And you got to prepare. I don't know if UTSA is in that particular position, but like I said, I'm sure he knows that this game and next week's game is going to be a tall order. Mr. Henderson, our OC hasn't dropped. He must be a cockroach and not a fly. Jason says, seems like Traylor has been more outspoken about coaching is a big part of the struggles lately, which is good. Curious to see how the runners show up tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, listen, he started doing that a few weeks ago. I want to say it was against Colorado State is the first time, I believe, after that, he said our offense wasn't good enough, and he talked through a lot of plays, like 3 or 4 different plays I think he rattled off that he didn't like the play calls about. And ever since then, he has dropped nuggets in these press conferences alluding to his coordinators needing to be better on the offensive side of the ball for sure, and then more recently on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's a really good thing. I think it's a little nugget to give us some peek into what he's thinking and what he's communicating to his coaches, and gives us a peek that he is holding them accountable. And it does give me a little confidence that, like, yo, if he deems that we're in a position to where we're not going to be able to be successful, I'm hoping that he is willing to make the tough call and move on. Because here's what I'll say. Like, I mean, for anybody who has been in a leadership position, like at the, even at your job or whatever, you have to make a decision to like let someone go or give somebody a low performance evaluation. The last thing you can do in that, or the worst thing you can do in that, is not signal any of this stuff before you have to give the decision. Because at that point, if you signal, oh, everything is great, and then boom, hey, everything is great, but now that we evaluate your performance, you've actually been bad for months, and I'm firing you. That's terrible. That's terrible leadership. That's just a bad way of going by things, right? That's not a decent thing to do. What you do with that is you start to try to help improve these people's performance, but also be transparent with them about their performance when you first start seeing the issues creep up. And if they don't change that over time, then you give them the poor performance evaluation, they are kind of more or less expecting it, or it's not a surprise or something like that. I'm taking Traylor being so vocal about some of these play calls and like all this stuff that he doesn't like, and him sort of publicly challenging his coaches as a message and a signal to kind of let the fan base know, like, hey, I see what's going on. I'm frustrated with y'all as well. But I also think if he's doing that in public, I'm sure he's holding them accountable behind closed doors. And that is giving me sort of a positive feeling about, like, yo, if this season does go poorly, if it finishes poorly, which based on indications now seems like it will, he's going to make some adjustments. But we got to see. I don't know. Pops is on here. He says, at this point, as fans, we can only support any efforts that the team put forth to end the season, making some kind of positive progress. I mean, yeah. I mean, all you can do is get out there and support the player. A lot of this stuff is just not the player's fault. I mean, we're just not structured in a way that is going to put them in a position to succeed. And some of them are just not good enough. Also, I mean that's a reality too. That's an uncomfortable thing that people don't like to say, especially when it comes to college kids. I think it's fine to say, as long as you're not like calling people out in a way. At least, yeah. I mean, it's easier to do that. Like if we're talking about a big Power Four school where they have millions of people, but like I feel uncomfortable about that. Being an alum of UTSA and being close to folks at the program. But yeah, you got the kid. You gotta hope that those guys remain healthy and hope those guys show up and perform and hope the cookies crumble in the way that's positive for them. But yeah, it's a tough year for them. Summerall says so. Summerall is playing the UTSA pipes in noise car. Yeah, it's a joke. It's embarrassing if I'm honest. Uh, yeah, it's embarrassing. Anthony says, I keep hearing that coach is looking down this week from his media interviews. Your thoughts on his energy reflecting how our locker room vibes are? Do we overcome this sour losing feeling this week? I mean, I think I alluded to some of this earlier, but like I hope that he's not carrying what he's showing us in press conferences to the locker room with the kids. I doubt he is. He's a professional. He's a really good coach. I doubt he's doing that. I bet the energy is high there because it has to be if they want to give themselves any opportunity to win games going forward. So I'm going to say that that's probably not seeping into the locker room. Coaches are generally pretty good at that, at keeping those things separate and keeping that away. My thoughts on how we overcome the sour. I mean, winning, but that's tough. Like if we can overcome the sour. I mean, winning and potentially a good a positive performance. I think we can. I think there's a world where we. I mean, this is going to sound bad, but this is kind of where we are. We are in a situation where I think fans and supporters will be encouraged by a good performance, even in a loss. I think that's where UTSA is right now. But losing is losing, man. You lose, and then you got like the problem. The reason why I don't think we'll be able to overcome that sour feeling is because we got South Florida next. Like, yeah, that's tough. Does the magic of the black uniforms make another comeback this year? Will we see another season turnaround like we started with Memphis last year and go on a winning streak to save us a bowl game? I mean, look, I think it would be great if we did do something like that because I think it'll help us in recruiting from a recruiting standpoint. It's not likely. I think some of UTSA's problems are hard for them to overcome. If I'm just calling it, being as straight up as I can be. I hope so. I hope they can do it, but we'll just see. We'll see tomorrow. I mean, the good thing is I typically do this on a Wednesday and we got to wait all the way to Saturday. Nope. I'm doing this on a Wednesday and the game's tomorrow. So we'll see. Do you think player development is an issue with this staff or is it scouting? I'm so glad you brought this up, JJ. So yes, 1000%. It's one, if you go catch my article that I wrote that I think the players, I don't think we're developing players well at all. I think that right there is, there's one thing of like you don't have much time to develop players in this day and age because so many people are hopping in and out the portal. But there are some players that have been in that program for multiple years and they don't look better. Like Owen McCown, I mean, y'all tell me, does he look better than he did last year? Because I don't think so. He's either the same or a little worse if we're just being completely honest. And not to call him out, but he's the quarterback, right? That's sort of the thing on here. I don't think he's a bad player or anything like that, but I'm just talking about a lot of why the season was supposed to be a really great season is because we brought back so many players on offense and we expected all of them to take a step up. And some of it's coaching, a lot of it's not all on players, but yeah, we just hadn't seen those great bounds and leaps of improvement. And I think we tried to lean on some of that with the guys that we've started in on the defensive side of the ball, but they're struggling. They're struggling, you know? So I think player development is an issue. I think one of the big things is, I think from a technique standpoint, I think we can do a lot better with some of that stuff. As a team like UTSA, we're gonna win games in the margins, um, and like guys get penalties because they're not in the right position. Like technique shows up in things like that and penalties and like really small details. And I think yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue. Mike says we started the season with the team being described by Taylor as having championship fiber to now likely staying home in the postseason. Yeah, I mean he was wrong. He was wrong. Something went cataclysmic, or something went completely wrong. I don't know what it. I mean, I can give you a ton of reasons, but he's the one who knows the real reasons. I can sit here from my office chair and I can watch as much of the stuff, the TV footage of the film all possible, but they got all the angles, so they know exactly what's going on. And like I said, there were a lot of people a lot of players, in my opinion, that were misprofiled, and that's part of the reason we're here today. And it's not even those players' fault; it's the coaches who are recruiting and who's over talent over there. That's a problem. Shout out to Anthony. Yes, remember to like and subscribe for those of you who are new here. But I think we only got the OGs here today. There's not a lot of people with us today. Mike says if this season plays out the way we all think, which is missing a bowl game, is Traylor on the hot seat going? No, he's not on the hot seat going into next season. But he's definitely going to have a lot more pressure on him going into that season in years past, in terms of like, you got to deliver. And he has some big calls to make, some big decisions to make on the player personnel side, but including his staff too. He's got a lot of things that he's going to have to clean up and he's going to have to figure out. So that's what's going to be the big thing. He will not be able to afford to do this twice in a row, because that's when I think the hot seat's really going to be there. So yeah, I mean it's a tricky situation for Traylor. I'm talking nationally. Oh yes. Oh yeah. I mean it's because Will Henderson, it's because this is that time of year where you kind of know what your team is already. You're not gonna, like, it's very rare that teams make huge transformations, at the end of the season. You kind of already know what your team is. That's why people are dropping like flies in that way. Jason says, serious question. What is your opinion of Traylor's job since Frank Harris left? Bit from a record and a recruiting standpoint, but from a record and recruiting standpoint, not good enough. I see a message that I'm going to laugh at here in a little bit. Shout out to Frank. But yeah, I'm talking Frank, the person that left the recent chat. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's just not been good enough, Jason. There's no other way around it. I give them a total pass for last season. I actually think, all things considered, last season was okay. We expected to get off to a rocky start, had a brand new nucleus in there, and we still able to rally and finish 5-1 in that season. I actually think last year was fine. Like, I actually think he did a really good job last year at getting the train back on the tracks and giving us to look forward to coming into this season. But looking at this season, it's a joke. It's a joke, and that's the part that's disappointing, because, like I said, we were supposed to be on an ascension based on and build off of the resets of last season, but now we have to reset again. That's a problem. Recruiting, like I said, from a recruiting standpoint, I'll give it to you guys here in the chat that's been banging the desk about this for a couple years now. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Like I said, and y'all have heard me say this 1,000 times today. We misprofiled quite a few players, and you don't have to be a rocket science to come to that conclusion. I'll leave it at that. A lot of coaches get big contracts after having a great quarterback, but then don't do much and are fired a few years after that quarterback has moved on. Yeah, that quarterback position is an important one, man. If you keep good ones coming in, but that's part of recruiting, right? That's part of recruiting. You lose a Frank Harris, you got to bring another guy like that in. There's no coincidence the best coaches always have good quarterbacks, y'all. They recruit on every level. On every level. I'm talking college, even on the high school level. And of course, we see that on the professional level. They recruit to make sure they get the right person in that can run their system, that can connect the fiber throughout the team to make everybody else get on the same page and all go toward the same goal with that guy as the steward of the ship. I'm talking about the quarterback. There's no coincidence that the best quarterbacks want to play for the best coaches. But when you take shortcuts, and like I said, I know UTSA tried their best. They were recruiting some quarterbacks and we weren't able to get them, and we were resource constrained. But when you take shortcuts, they always come back to bite you. And I will continue to say this over and over and over until it's stuck in everybody who comes here frequently head. Football will expose you. It is the most humbling game I have ever seen. It will expose you. You cannot hide. And if you take a shortcut, as I believe we have, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself doing that. And from a recruiting standpoint, we got some work to do. Period. Attendance guests for tomorrow's game. I'll be there for some reason. I hope we get 20,000. I'm not even trying to be funny. I hope 20,000. We get 20,000. That's my hope. But I don't know. From some of the people I talk to, that's going to be a tough task. I'm hoping Burke's play calling is the least scary thing I see this Halloween week. I hope it is too. I mean, listen, don't give me. I'm going to leave Burke alone for today because I am going to do another show in, maybe tomorrow after the game, depending on what happens. Time is the game tomorrow? Because that might be too late. Tomorrow, 6:30. I might do. I got to figure out what my plan is for tomorrow's game. Yeah. Anyway, whenever I do a post show, I'll save it for then. Darian, got to call you out, brother. I can still hear you in my head after the A&M game saying we're gonna be good. Yeah, I thought we were, bro. I thought we were. I thought we showed. Outside of the Rice game, I almost feel like we played A&M better than we played anybody else this year. What do y'all think about that? Exclude the Rice game. And I know we won against Colorado State, but that wasn't a great game. That was an awful game to watch. We didn't play well. We didn't play well against Temple. UIW, do you even count them because they're FBS? Like I said, outside of Rice, play awful against North Texas. Maybe Texas State. We played Texas State tough. But I still think the game that I feel like we put our best foot forward was probably Texas State. Texas State or Texas A&M. But it's a fair thing to call out. It's a fair thing to call out. I thought we were going to be good. Like I said, at that time, I didn't expect us to win that game. I was thinking we were going to win 9 games this year. I truly felt like that because of what I expected us to build upon the reset from last year, but it just wasn't right. Shout out to Frank. Wilson's recruits over Traylor's recruits. That is proven to be true right now. Kermit says, how soon after the season would you like a public announcement that the coordinator changes have been made within the program? Immediately. Immediately. Word, Mike. That man Frank must have been cheeks at coaching, having NFL talent across the field. Prayers up for LSU. We're hitting 20K at the Dome. Yep. I did promise. Who did I promise up here that I was going to give a score prediction? I don't like giving score predictions when I don't feel like we're going to win the game. I'm gonna say, I don't know, 27-17 Tulane. I don't expect us. I don't really expect us to win. I hope we play well, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in the offense. I think the defense will bounce back and they'll keep us in the game. I hope our offense can do something to pull things together. But y'all know how I am. I don't sugarcoat. I'm not just gonna make up something to be I'm not gonna just make up something to like be on the right side of UTSA success. I don't feel very confident about this game. They haven't given me nothing to feel confident about. I'm going to watch every second, of course, and I'm going to hope and scream and yell and kicking whatever to support the team from here. But I don't have very high hopes, or I don't have very high expectations for tomorrow. Got a couple more rolling in here as we look to wrap here in a sec. Kevin Bach says, "What's up with Texas State being worse than we are?" That was surprising. I thought they looked good against us. I haven't watched I watched one of the games, one of those overtime games, late one night over the past few weeks. But yeah, kind of shocking. I mean, what's crazy is we do all that noise. We talk all that noise before we talk all that noise with Texas State, and we both are crap. We both are crap, right? Yeah. So, what are they now? 3-5 or 3-4? I know we're 3-4. I think are they the same? Or are they 3-5? They might be 3-5, right? I'm curious now. I'm gonna go look. I don't even like my algorithm knowing that I'm Googling them. Yeah, they're 3-5. Jeez. Yeah, it was all that stuff about GJ Kinney is gone. All that Oklahoma State and all that, yeah, that's not happening. It's not happening. Let's see. Some 1,000 IQ totally unpredictable schemes from Burke. Like always, Caleb. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Caleb. Caleb says coming in late. What can we expect from our offense tomorrow? I actually haven't went over this. What I expect from the offense is, of course, he's going to respond to everyone who said that we didn't run the ball enough, including his boss, the head coach. We're gonna get a heavy dosage of Robert Henry, and we're gonna get a heavy dosage of Will Henderson. We're gonna run the ball more on third downs than what I like to, but it's probably the best thing to do because I don't have very high expectations for our passing game to get rolling. I mean, we were anemic throwing the ball downfield last game. I don't even know if they want to give them an opportunity to. I mean, we probably should. We'll probably take some shots. We're in the dome. We typically do things a little better in the dome with the crowd behind us. So, I think we'll run. It'll be a run heavy game. Teams are just taking the screen pass away from us because without that, our offense can't really move. Like we rely a lot on soft coverage to get the offense rolling, and they're just not. Teams aren't giving us that anymore. So yeah, not. It's gonna be a tough one. Battle of mid next I-35 showdown. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Why does this feel like last year's Memphis game to me? I'm delusional. You might not be. Like it could very well be. I mean, we were miserable last season at this particular point in time, and we did go on to turn it around. Turn it around. So, yeah, I mean, you never know what can happen. But we just got to see. I mean, there is still an opportunity Let me it's an opportunity, not likely. So don't throw eggs at me here. But last season we finished going 5-1. So there's still an opportunity for that. Oh wait, or is it? Let's see. 1-1. Yeah, I mean there's still an opportunity for that. I mean we got 6 games left. No, I'm sorry, not 6. We got 5 games left, and we're 1-1 in our last 2. So like there's still a way to make it work, but I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, and if we just went out, that's 5-1 there. But yeah, I wouldn't bet on it. Oh, I really like this. UT RGV is coming to town next year. I really, really like this. Someone was asking me about like why would we be paying somebody considering the fact that we need to be making money and not paying teams to play us. But yes, you're paying a flat fee for a team to come down to travel to you and pay you and play you. But what they're getting out of that is a home game. So you're basically buying a home game, and because it's in region, you're going to have a large group of people that's going to travel to that game. I mean, I'm sure they're not doing great numbers. They don't have capacity to do great numbers, but they're going to have some people that come to the game. I think UTSA folks in general are kind of keeping their eyes on their program because they are starting out a lot like we are. So I think first game of the season, that game's going to be packed. You're kind of buying yourself a win, buying some momentum, buying some interest because people are going to like that. People are going to, so, I mean, they're going to still like they'll pay that flat fee, but they'll get that money back in like ticket sales, just the sponsor activations, things like that are part of the money that they make on a game day, especially if you can get a big crowd out there. So they'll still come out making money. Texas State cooked worse than us. Yes, they are. Tuning in late. Shout out to Pogos. I'm concerned about tomorrow. Do we make a bowl? Yes or no? No. No. Unless they show me something different tomorrow, no. Bringing the Cutwaters next year. It's Rap says, let's pay a P5 Texas team next time in 2027. You know what's funny? It's funny you bring that up. What did Lisa Campos say when she was on here? She said, it's hard for P5 teams. Like P5 teams don't want to play us. We're a dangerous team. Well, I'm sure a few of them would be knocking on the door a little bit more after this season. So we may not have to pay anything gets wrapped. May not have to pay anything. Y'all don't forget we have LSU in a couple years. We have to recruit. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a very tough night for us. Yeah, I mean we're not going to be able to like turn the corner like that. I mean you'd hope we did. We'd have to still be on the level we were a few years ago and have built onto that in the American. And we clearly haven't. We've clearly taken some steps back, or maybe just not have taken enough steps forward being in a more difficult conference. But that's how the cookie crumbles. And Pogo says he agreed, no bowl. Anyway, appreciate you guys for being here. I will let you guys know on Twitter what my sort of planning is around post-game wrap-up and things like that. I might do something tomorrow, depending on how the game goes, but we got to see. Anyway, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Hopefully UTSA can turn things around. Go Birds.